Jury selection underway in a controversial court case out of Montana, where a man admitted killing a 17-year-old German exchange student, sparking an international debate about U.S. gun laws. Police say Diren Didi of Hamburg was shot in April. Marcus Karma from Missoula, Montana, is accused of firing a shotgun into his darkened garage from outside after a home security system alerted him to the intruder. Joining us now, former federal prosecutor Doug Burns. Also with us, Fox News legal analyst Lee Sweal. Doug, the charge is deliberate murder. Could be a 10 to 100-year prison term for this guy. What about the Castle Doctrine?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. Generally speaking, when you're talking about defending in your home, the rules are often different. But there's one rub in this case, John, and here's the problem. Normally, it's interesting. If you reasonably suspect that a person is committing a felony on your property, you can use deadly force with nothing more, unlike normal self-defense elsewhere, which is you have to be in reasonable immediate fear of harm or great, threat of death. Here's the problem, though. The prosecutors, I'm kind of smiling, they turn around. What a gloss they put on this. They said that the victim was garage surfing to try to find something to drink. That's not a joke. They did that on purpose because that establishes, if they can establish that and get the jury to believe it, that he wasn't there to commit a felony and therefore what he did was illegal.
Well,
I'm not saying I agree with that.
A little more context to this, though,
Right.
which is that this guy had been, the defendant had been, burglarized several times before. He had set up, you said home surveillance, he had set up this home surveillance. He's basically just sitting there 24/7 looking at this home surveillance. He allegedly keeps the garage door open a bit, right, and puts out a purse there. Prosecutors are going to say to allure this guy, to lure the victim here into his garage.
Yes.
So it wasn't like, he just willy-nilly happened on this. He was lured into that garage. But I agree with Doug in that the Montana castle law is very very broad. There was a similar case very recently in the same state where somebody came in, a guy was having an affair with his wife, killed him, and got off because of the castle law.
What I'm saying, Lise, don't misunderstand me, is that if it's established that the victim was not there to commit a felony, then he's going to be guilty of the crime. That's
right.
I lived in Miami in the bad old days, and I had numerous break-ins at my house. And when my kids were inside, I was staring through the glass at a guy who was trying to break into my house, and it took every ounce of self-control I had not to whack him with a baseball bat, and I would have done some damage.
Under the law in Montana, you could have done that, though, because if he's trying to break into your home, now here it's the garage, so it's a little bit more attenuated, but it's still presumably your home property.
Also, a little bit analogous to Pistorius, but not exactly. He shot through without knowing who was there. And that's bad, too. That's bad.
And now German prosecutors are looking at potentially going after this as well.
Yeah, but can they do that?
Well, apparently under German law, they can look at people who have committed crimes against Germans on foreign soil. What jurisdiction, how he would get extradited.
Would the U.S. extradite him for something like that? I don't think so.
Certainly not if he's acquitted in this case.
No, I don't think they'll extradite him, John.
All right. I'd love to talk to you more about that one, but we have another court case to talk about. Apple's late founder is going to be testifying from really beyond the grave. Steve Jobs will appear in a video deposition in an antitrust case. The lawsuit accuses Apple of holding a monopoly in the digital music playing market. Jobs will defend his actions in a pre-recorded video. That video has not been released to the public. The accusation is that Apple designed at least the early versions of the iPod so that it could only play either music that were already in your CD collections or music that you downloaded from the iTunes store.
Right, you couldn't go anywhere else. And look, we hate to say smoking guns, but there are smoking guns. In 2003, he wrote this email. We need to make sure that when Music Match launches their download music store, they cannot use the iPad. Is this going to be an issue? That's just one email.
Yeah, I mean, if there's behavior that indicates, as you said, tying agreements, it implicates antitrust concerns, and that's the thing. But as far as testifying from the grave, real quick, I'm sure people realize this, and it sounds almost like a joke, but it's not. Witness permanently unavailable by way of death, then the hearsay statement can come in.
Right.
So presumably this video statement, he's trying to exonerate his actions and those of the company, but the emails, like the one you just read, seem to suggest a different story. Or at least he's testifying against himself.
This, I guess he didn't realize, he didn't get the memo about not putting things in emails.
Well, one expert said that. It said apparently, he put stuff in emails that he should have been more careful. And ironically, as you just said, John, it's almost like he's testifying against himself from the grave. So really,
one way to keep it out potentially is whether he was cross-examined during that deposition. the deposition from the grave. If he was not cross-examined, then the other side could say, look, we didn't have a chance to cross-examine him at that point.
Fascinating case. Lise Wheel, Doug Burns, thank you both.
My pleasure, John.